All right.
What's that?
We have to move over a little
We
bit.
have to
Is this
move
going to work?
over.
Can we? Is there a way to zoom out a little bit? Oh. Before we, this is going to be a recorded podcast, so I'm going to speak for 30 seconds before the recording starts, because they'll edit this out. Just what I love Hashem and how He has this beautiful Shkacha Pratis, and we have this introduction where we now are so excited to make a child feel safe, feel loved, feel understood, communicated, and we're about to really dig in, and this is really exciting. So, thank you. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the first training. Where we have a beautiful slideshow that's also going to be accompanying us. You all have the copy of the slideshow in front of you, and we'll be able to use that as we follow along. And Meretz Hashem, you could take some notes next to it. This podcast is going to be 7 series, where today we're doing 2 of the pesukim, Torah and Vishinantam. We're going to learn how the Rebbe uses these 2 pesukim, the language the Rebbe uses to communicate to children in a way that they get it. And without further ado, I'd like to jump right in. So Rabbi Pevsner, we're standing here at a very special time, 50 years since Shnas HaChinuch. Tell us, what is happening right now?
Okay, so Baruch Hashem, this has been very special because when I started this project with Sichos in English, it was Tavshin Pei Gimel, and Shnas HaChinuch was not really on our minds. It wasn't something we were thinking about. It was Stam, it was Hashkacha Pratis that we got started. And Baruch Hashem, we are now at a moment where everybody from Mikol Tzad Upina, everybody wants to hear this. I'm realizing this week more than ever before, we're pashat at a time that every single Lubavitch Mechanech is somehow basically interested in this. And we have a meidike opportunity. I was speaking to a Mechanech last week, and he told me, Azoi, the real thing is not going to happen by you teaching. The real thing is going to happen between us, the Melamdim. It's going to happen between us in the teachers' rooms. It's going to happen between us in our chats. And that's where it's going to really happen. The revolution of Chinuch is not just that I'm going to teach some nice things of how the Rebbe said this or that. What's going to happen is that when we try to apply it in day to day, we are going to see a meidike development of a language. How language develops is that you give some words, and then people make more words. You find the oisteich of how to say it. So this is a beautiful opportunity. I am very grateful to each and every one of you who came, everybody who's going to be listening. This is something very, very special, and I've seen the impact in my life and my children and whoever I'm involved with, and you will see it too. And Bezras Hashem will give the Rebbe lots of nachas, and we'll bring the Gula Shlema. So let's get started.
All right, so we have a title, the Rebbe's Chinuch language. And we just heard that I believe there's close to 1,200 pages of sichos, 344 individual sichos at over 120 rallies, I think. And I know I've been listening to a lot of these rallies as I'm doing my morning walk over the last couple months. And since I've met you, Rabbi Pevsner, really got excited about using the Rebbe's language in my classroom. But what do you mean by the Rebbe's Chinuch language? How's that different than whatever we've been doing at the Chinuch conference for the last 25 years?
Okay, so great question. So here's the thing. Everybody knows that we, as Chassidim, we emulate the Rebbe's Hanhoga. We emulate the Rebbe's Heiroes, Sipurim, right? Minhogim, everything. Right? You have on the bottom of the Siddur where they're putting in notes of how the Rebbe held his Siddurs by Baruch Shamar. Right? Why? Because we know the Rebbe has a right. Right? The Rebbe is a Yishalikim, right? And by the Rebbe, it's the correct way. And therefore, if I go in the Rebbe's footsteps, even if I don't understand the reason for the minhag, right? Even if I'm not sure why, I could be confident that this is going to work. Now, let's take this into chinuch. If the Rebbe had never spoken to children, I would have a question. How should I talk to my kids? And I'd have to make it up, right? And we've done that plenty. But the interesting thing is that the Rebbe did speak to children, and a lot. And a lot of it is documented, not just the middle of a yechidus when a kid was fidgeting and the Rebbe pulled out a coin for the kid to play with. I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about the time and time and time again where the Rebbe gave so much time, so much devotion to sit, to stand and talk to children. And the Rebbe said to them so many things, wisdom that they should know, expecting that this is going to be applied forward, right? That we should start talking to our children the way the Rebbe talks to the children then. And that is something that once I saw it start working, you can't unsee it. You can't unsee it. Should I tell a story or let's go weiter?
We'll get to the stories in a second. I just want to say that another amazing thing that Shnas HaChamishim has inspired is a beautiful collaboration between the Chinuch Office, Merkez Chinuch Office, and Sichas in English, and Tzivas Hashem, and all the other meisters are all coming together. There's a new 12 pesukim office, and there's a website, which we're going to talk about in a second, but the collaboration that's coming together to really help every level, mechanchim, parents, students, really get this and bring it forward the way that I've been envisioned 50 years ago is very, very exciting. So I'm excited about that. Tell us, we know that the 12 pesukim are featured on this program. We're going to be doing the first two today. What is it about the 12 pesukim that is the focal point of the Rebbe's chinuch language?
Okay, so it took me a while to actually understand this fully, but you could look at it that, okay, so the Rebbe spoke a lot to kids, and now we need to learn a lot from what the Rebbe said to kids in general, over all the sichos and all, right? However, a very big part of what we are going to learn, and we'll actually focus on a lot today with the Rebbe's model of chinuch, is that the children should own it. The children should feel balabatim over the information they're taught. We're going to talk about the ownership of Torah. We're going to talk about v'shinamtem levanecha, that they should teach their own talmidim, because every child is a mechanech. But the child should own it. Now, where did the Rebbe emulate this? The Rebbe emulated this by how the Rebbe structured the rallies. The Rebbe always said there's Torah, Tefillah, Tzedakah by the rally. What's the Tefillah? They daven mincha. What's the Tzedakah? The Rebbe would give out the dimes. What was the Torah? The 45 minutes of a sikha, or the children saying the 12 pesukim? The Rebbe always said it was the Torah, the 12 pesukim. Right? The sikha didn't count. Come on, a little credit. Right? It's the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Right? The sikha, what did the Rebbe do in the sikha? The Rebbe spoke about the lesson of the time. The Rebbe spoke about the theme of this particular time, and then the Rebbe always went back and anchored it, wie mit früher gesagt, in the Yud Beis Pesukim. The Rebbe always connected things back to the 12 Pesukim. And you could have one reference on top of another reference, and sometimes the Rebbe is bringing 3 Pesukim together to prove one point. The Rebbe keeps on referencing the Pesukim. In other words, what the Rebbe was doing to the kids is, the Rebbe was saying, yes, I'm going to teach you something. I'll teach you what you just said. What you know. When we have our kids, they already know the Pesukim. Right? They know the Pesukim. They say the Pesukim with achayis. The Pesukim are already embedded to them. When you teach them something, and then you say, this is what you say in the Pesukim, you have immediate buy-in. So if we're going to talk about the Rebbe's chinuch language, let's use the Pesukim, because the Rebbe used the Pesukim. Right? Actually, in Tavshin, I think it's Cheshvan Tavshin and Gimel, the rally is base Cheshvan or something like that. I think the Rebbe actually said then that the Sikha is a explanation on the Pesukim. Right? So it's in a variation which you see methodically. You see this throughout, and the Rebbe put it as a. So using the 12 psukim will be able to cover a lot more than just the sichos of the 12 psukim. We'll be able to really bring together a lot of how the Rebbe spoke to kids. What is the Rebbe's chinuch language is really anchored through the 12 psukim.
And it's extremely powerful when you tell a child, you know this already. Just a really short teaser. Sure. I was driving carpool, and one of the first graders that I drive, not my own child, I can't get my seatbelt. I can't. It was stuck. And having been immersed in this, I said, you know what it says in Yegaiti Umatsasi, right? She says, yeah. I said, so what do you have to do? Keep trying. Okay, I got it. That's what happened. And it's not my words. It's the Rebbe's language. You know already what to do. I don't have to tell you what to do. It's so powerful. All right, let's get to it. We're going to begin with the first pasuk of Torah, and tell us why Torah. Why did you pick Torah first?
Okay, so the Rebbe starts the 12 pesukim with Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe, which is mitzad echad very, very basic, and mitzad echad also very worthy of discussion. Why Torah first? Bepashtus, because the Gemara says learn Torah first. Tinik, Mishamaskal, Adaber, the Gemara Sukkah says you got to start teaching with Torah, okay? Hagufa needs to be understood. Bepashtus, you would think that the first thing to teach a child is Shema, about the Eibishter. And it's hard to say what we actually teach first. The Rebbe spoke about the minig of women to teach, to say with the child, Moida'ani, from the time they're born. We teach the child a lot of things. We say Shema from a very, very early age. It's not really a shaila chronologically, do we actually teach this first? We're teaching them a lot. But when we put the 12 psukim and we're putting a seder, the first thing is Torah. The first thing is Torah. That means that Torah is a yesod. We say Mipi Eilalim v'yenkim yasadatois. There's a foundation of strength that come from children. There's also a foundation of strength that children have. What is the foundation? The foundation is Torah. In other words, the Shema Yisrael will be a different kind of Shema Yisrael if they first have Torah. Torah is foundational because every element of chinuch is asay steht in Torah. I could give you the silliest example. I overheard my children, Erev Shabbos, I told them it's time for the bath, and one child says, I don't want to go. Right? His younger brother tells him, it says in Shulchan Aruch. Right? Okay? Right? Done. He's going. Right? He's a 5-year-old and he's in the middle of playing, but his younger brother told him it says in Shulchan Aruch. Right? My younger brother told me it says in Shulchan Aruch. I'm down. Right? That is a concept that really everything says in Shulchan Aruch. Everything says in Torah Yisrael. Everything says in the Torah. So if we're going to give a foundation of a connection to Torah, that they should own the Torah, that they should cherish the Torah, then ultimately you gave them everything. When you teach them Shema Yisrael, and it says Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem is your personal Eibishter, and where does it say that? In the Torah. You have buy-in. It says it in the Torah. All right. Okay. What does it mean? Okay, are we ready to talk about the meaning?
Let's talk about it. So yes. I'm curious why kihilas is in a different color.
Okay, so kihilas is the one word that L'chura is going to send you off with the 12 psukim. What does the pasuk mean? Torah tziva lanu Moshe, Midasha kilas Yaakov. Torah that Moshe commanded to us is the inheritance of kihilas Yaakov. What's the word for kihilas? A congregation. A congregation is when you have a lot of people. So, Bepashtus, who does the Torah belong to? Klal Yisrael. It's public property. It's public property. That's the Havana Pshuta in the pasuk. Right? Now, it's a very nice message, nonetheless, that you tell us we'll always own the Torah. This pasuk was said right before Moshe Rabbeinu's Stalkos, and you're telling us Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe, the Torah that Moshe gave it to us as a Meirosh. It's going to be passed on for generation to generation, and there's always going to be a Kehilas Yaakov. We're part of Kehilas Yaakov, and we own the Torah. However, the big thing that the Rebbe teaches consistently about Torah is, what's this next slide? What's Pshat Meidosha? Ownership. Who owns it? Every yid individually. You're going to ask a shaila, it says kehilas. Well, kehilas is not a tzibur. Tzibur is a metzias achas. Kehilas is a tziduf of pratim. Every single member of kehilas Yaakov is an individual owner. Torah is private property. Torah is private property. Why is this so negea? Why is it so negea to explain that Torah belongs to each person as an individual? You are the only one. It's takim modne. How could the same thing be everybody's property? It's taka gut shaila. The answer is the Eibishter, every child by him is a ben yochid. So for him, every single child is his only one. But what does it mean that the Torah belongs to this yochid, to each individual? What does it do? So the big vart is, you see in the teva of a child, the Rebbe spoke about this, the teva of a child is, what's one of the first things a child says? And dafka bekel rash gadol, mine. Yasher koyach, very good, right? Mine. That's what children say. Why do children take such an achiza with mine. It's one of the most frustrating things for parents. You take the kid to the playground, and what are you worried about? He's going to grab the other kid's scooter, start running around and saying, mine. Right? You have another kid over, right? You go to somebody else and say, it's mamish abrach. It's, why? Why is the kid so hung up on mine? Right? Why? And l'chora, it's nicht das a gute Sach. It's goydem problems, right? A head of Avos Yisrael, you teach the kid, you have to shear, you can't have mine, right? So the Rebbe says, no, right? It could be channeled in the right way because ultimately it's a richtige Sach. It's a teva of a Yiddish child. It has to be richtig. What is it? That a child has to come to the understanding that I came into this world because b'shvili nivra olam, I have a shlichus over here. So therefore, you have to channel it appropriately. In under the verter, instead of teaching the child, it's mine, so therefore I need to keep it. It's mine, so I get to share it. It's mine, so I get to do something good with it. But the netiya is mine is something very, very good. What happens if I make the Torah be theirs in the same way? That they have the same achiza over the Torah like they have over that toy that they say mine. Everybody wants their own thing. You give a child something and it's, yes, anybody could use it. It's nicht dasselbe Sach. When you give the child something and you say it's mine. This is really, really, really amazing. Right? To teach a child that the Torah is theirs.
So I had a couple days ago in class, a child who asks too many questions asked another question. And the class started to snicker and make fun of him. And I had just been on a shir with Rabbi Pevsner, and this is what came out of my mouth. I said, wow, Mendel, I'm so excited for you. Hashem gave you, when you were born, your first birthday present, the Torah. And right now, you just asked me a question, and you're going to get to unwrap another part of your present. You know when you get a present, and you're like, oh, wow, oh, there's another piece. Oh, there's another, oh, what does this do? And you're about to uncover another special part of your present, the Torah. Ask your question again so everybody could join with you. And it changed the whole dimension of the class. Now, it doesn't mean that we always have time for questions. Sometimes we have to schedule afterwards. But this idea that Torah is mine, it's something to celebrate, something that he owns. I'm just there to help him discover this beautiful gift that the Eibusher gifted him. That's very powerful. You want to share with me something about spiritual versus physical inheritance. I think that's a very powerful thing.
Okay, so this is Nageya. What is Yerusha? If it's Baruch Hashem, we're Bari, that's over Bar Mitzvah, and we have Seichel, and we could understand this thing, right? So what is Yerusha? The Pashtus, Yerusha is when somebody unfortunately passes on, right? His children take his place, right? Tachas avisechu yu bonechu, the child takes the place of the parent. Who exactly are we inheriting from, right? So it's very, very interesting. But the way the Rebbe explains it, it's in a Sicha Yud Oder Sheni Tavshim Mem Dalet, the Rebbe explains that the way ownership works, the way Yerusha works with a Davar Ruchni is different than ownership of a Davar Gashmi. Ownership of a Davar Gashmi, the parent needs to hold on to it for their entire lifetime, because otherwise it will be a stira to the parent's ownership. The child can't just walk away with his parents' things because he's tachas avisechu, yu benechu, brok davo, he's the metzias of the father, he's a hemshech of the father, and now he's got it. It's a kenish zaynazay. But a Davar Ruchni, the moment of eligibility, the moment that a child becomes ro'ui to be Yodesh, the child is Yodesh. Why? Because a Davar Ruchni, you don't need to take it away from the Moedish to give it to the Yodesh. Right? Both can own it equally. So the Yerusha is from the Eibishter. The Yerusha is from Moshe Rabbeinu. The Yerusha is from the Ovis and the Imois. The Yerusha is maybe even from your parents. But the point is that the ownership happens immediately. So what did I do when a baby was born in the family? My kids were young, and they had a new baby sister. I brought to them the sister, very new, and I said, do you know who gave the baby a present today? Baby they're meeting the kid for the second time. Who gave the baby a present? The Heben on Claren. Who could it be? Was it Bobby? Who gave the baby a present? Right? So I tell them it was the Eibishter. What was the present? The Torah. This clicked something in my kids' heads. From then on, they kept on reminding their baby sister, do you know you have a present from Hashem? You have the Torah, right? You have the Torah. They kept on reminding her, right? Kept on going over to the sister, telling the sister, you have a present from the Eibishter. But what happened? They learned they also have a present from the Eibishter in the strongest way. Just Shabbos, I wanted to test something out. I asked my son, I'm walking to shul, I say, is Chassidus only for adults? Without batting an eye, he says, no, it's for kids too. I own it. Yeah? This is the part of ownership. Let's go weiter.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And it also works with the Talmidim who, I had a Talmud this week. I don't understand, I said, do you understand the question? He says, no, but I don't care. And Gemara, I said, this is your Torah. So this question for you is yours. It's my job to make sure that you understand your Torah. And that was it. We learned the Gemara again, and he got it. It's such a powerful word. And the Rebbe says another thing about Meirasha.
Okay, Meirasha doesn't just tell me that you own the Torah, it tells you how you should feel about the Torah. Because Meirasha is not stam, an ownership. You could own things in many different ways. You own things and then you want to sell them. Right? The Rebbe learns in Meirasha that when you have a Yerusha, you don't want to let go of it. Right? What is the Yesod for the Rebbe's beer? Rashi ala Torah. Rashi teaches Torah tziva Meisha, ha-Torah asher tziva Meisha, right? Meirasha hi lekilas Yaakov achas nua v'loi ne'ezova. We'll hold on to, right? V'loi? Nazvena, sorry, thank you. Right? You're going to hold on to it and we won't let go. Teaches the Rebbe in Shnas HaChinuch, Simchas Torah Tovshin Lamed Zayin. The Rebbe spoke about what? The Rebbe spoke. What's achas nua? We'll hold on to it. The Rebbe touched it. It's like a stei achusa. It's an inheritance that you can't even halachically sell. If you sell it only because you're completely broke, then it has to come back by yovel. You can't get rid of this, right? You hold on to it. Nobody is going to go ahead and give away their elter zeitas menorah just dam. It's my yerusha, right? Al derech zeh, the Torah needs to be cherished. The big chinuch of Torah Tziva is not just to educate children to own the Torah, that the Torah is theirs. That you should feel like it's yours comes with a tremendous tayerkeit. So you have to teach a child that the Torah is the Eibishter's present. It's their present. And it's tired by the Eibishter. It's the tires the thing for the Eibishter. And the Eibishter gave it to you. So now a child knows that he has a tire kite for his toy, right? He has a tire kite for his toy. Even a very young child, he has a tire kite for his things, right? This is the most choshev thing that he owns. B'derech memela, you have a tire kite. This is the basic way that Rebbe explained the pasuk. You're looking to create a tire kite to Torah. Now, really, honestly, if I would ask a group of mechanchim, right, if you need to rate on the list of priorities, how high is teaching Avas HaTorah to children? Avas HaTorah, the virtue of Avas HaTorah. How high would you rate it? Very high. Would Avas Yisrael first or after? No? Equal. Okay, you're right. Right. Avas Hashem. So within the three Avos, the one that's spoken about most in Chassidus is Avos Hashem, right? And Avos Yisrael. And Avos HaTorah is mentioned every now and then when we have a maimer, right? Oyev Eisei Rasecha, right? Why? Not because, by the way, Torah says beautiful. Chassidus is all about Torah saying, right? It talks about it plenty. It's have no fear. But we don't put such an emphasis necessarily on Avos HaTorah. But the first pasuk is Torah Siva, to teach a yakrus, a chvivis to Torah. Yes, drill it into kids' heads. The Rebbe talks about that you bring a kid to shul to kiss the Sefer Torah from time to time. Right? The Rebbe says it. In other words, even you're taking the kid to shul for many reasons. Right? He needs to get out of the house. Right? He's gonna beat his sister if he stays home. You have many reasons why you're taking the kid to shul. But on the way to shul, you can tell the kid, it's a zay shein you're coming to shul because today is a yom hakriya. We're taking out the Sefer Torah, and you're going to get a chance to kiss your Torah. Wow. Right? You emphasize it. It's about intentionality. It's about intentionality to be madgash. You're teaching Torah all day long. talk about the chavivas of Teda, mention the chavivas of Teda, the tiredkeit of the child learning Teda, right? And when you do it in such an eifin, it's very, very natural that a child will learn Teda, and the child will want to dance because they learned the Varta Teda, right? And that's really, really special. Right?
Yeah, I had a student, we were doing Mishnayos Balpeh, so he says, I just want to do one line at a time. For those of you who don't do Mishnayos Balpeh testing, that means he wants to learn one line, quickly get tested on it, forget it, and then move to the next line. So I said, listen, Mendel, this is your Torah, and it's so special to you, and it's a Torah that when you know the Torah Balpeh, this is Hashem's Torah that you have in you. And when Hashem is inside of your head, He's there to help you and support you. How do you want to learn Mishnayos Balpeh? He didn't even answer me. He walked back to his seat, he sat down, he learned the Mishnah, came back 5 minutes later, and he did the whole Mishnah. It's, I think what I have come to appreciate is that the Rebbe spent a lot of time. I think there was a letter where the Rebbe said one of the hardest things for him is to translate Chassidus to children. Somebody shared with me, right? Something like that. So, but the Rebbe did it, and we have this language that the kids just get it. It just works. Like I said, even if you don't understand the minhag, it works. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Translate to a different language.
I did this in camp with the children.
Oh, okay. The hardest thing is to translate Torah to a different language, and I did this in camp with the children. That was the part. Yeah, Chassidus. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Yeah.
Now, here is one of the most peladike inyonim in Torah Tziva, right? Application. Torah Miloshen Heda. The Rebbe takes this very, very, very far to a place lav dafka we're so used to thinking. Azoi. So we teach the child that they own the Torah. What's pshat ownership? What does it mean? I remember once my son telling me, Tati, it can't be. All the svarim are yours. Right? He's just looking at the svarim shafis, lining the room. He says, it's not my Torah, it's yours. Look at all these svarim, they're yours. So I told him the bindings and the pages are mine, the words are yours. Right? In other words, there's the Gashmi and the Ruchni, right? So, okay. But what's pshat mine? You teach a child to own the Torah, that they own the Torah from the youngest age. You teach the child the chvivus of the Torah, right? But then we need the next step. They need to use what they own. They need to be able to use what they own. In other words, when a person has $1 billion, $1 million Yerusha, and it just sits in the bank collecting dust, so to say, it's a shaila of the balabatishkeit. You're supposed to do something with what you own. You're supposed to use it. So, number one, you celebrate the bailus of a child as they learn it. Look, you've been owning this since you were born, and now finally you got to learn another blat gemara. You were able to use what you owned, so worthy of celebration. But the Rebbe has another element to it, and that is to apply it. Part of ownership is that you should learn something from it. The Rebbe explains to children that the Torah is their Torah b'chaim. The Torah is the book of orders for a soldier in Sivas Hashem. Dehainu, what part of Torah? So you might think, well, the Aseis and the Lois Aseis, the Sifim and Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, they are the ones that tell me they're the book of orders, what I should do and what I shouldn't do. Consistently in the Rebbe's Sichos, though, it's not it. It's not limited there. It's every vart in Torah is going to teach you a lesson how to fight the Yetzer Hara, how to overcome a struggle, how to overcome a challenge, or how to set your priorities for the day. So for just a random example, a rally of Sukkot, Tavshin Memvov, the Rebbe says the Sefer HaMitzvahs of the day. The Sefer HaMitzvahs is eating a b'chor in Yerushalayim. Okay, right? I'm sure a lot of you teach Sefer HaMitzvahs. You're ready. Next. Okay, we said the mitzvah, right? What's the Hayrah? Is there a Hayrah? Does there need to be a Hayrah? Move on. The Rebbe's no. Not only is it an inyan in Torah, this is the order of the day. The way it's gestellt, this is the order of the day. So this is not just stam, right? This is something I need to make a priority. What's the priority from eating a b'chor in Yerushalayim? So the Rebbe teaches to the kids that Bechira is the firstborn. That means the first moments of your day. And the first moments of your day need to be for the Eibishter, Heilig for the Eibishter. And you have to make the place around you to be the Hauptstadt, the capital city of the Eibishter. It needs to be Hashem's space. So that means that when you wake up in the morning and you say Maidani and you wash Negelwasser, your room is becoming a Yerushalayim. And then afterwards, your house becomes a Yerushalayim. And the way you're going to start your day is going to be a Yerushalayim. Is this in Kitzur Shulchan Aruch? No. Where is the Hayra? It's not an assay, it's not a, right? It's in the practical, no. When the Rebbe says it's the book of orders, he doesn't only mean you have to, the checklist of Torah mitzvahs. Every element in Torah has to be able to be a Hayra. When you do that, you show that the child owns it. A very, very powerful sikha in this regard, I'll just say one more, was Yud Adar Sheni Tavshem Mem Dalet. The Rebbe asked the question that l'chura, a child can ask, why am I learning this mitzvah when the mitzvah has no shaychus to me? The mitzvah in question was actually nachlis, and the child thinks, I'm not over bar mitzvah to be able to paskin in these matters. I don't need this topic. And Bezos Hashem, my parents will live ladichas yom v'shalom tevis because Mashiach is coming and we'll live forever. So I don't need to know this. We encounter this every single day. I teach Bachar, it's kidder, all the time that a Bachar feels, a child feels, why do I need to learn this? Why do I need to learn this? What's the Rebbe's answer? There's something in the Torah here that is applicable to your life. Hayra. It's not just you own it, be happy you get to understand Eibishter's Werter, it's a Yichud Nifla, learn Pedekei of Tanya. No. An application right now. And this has really changed the way I interact with Torah with my kids. Because let's say Shabbos afternoon, I'm sitting by the table and we talk about the parasha they learned in school. What are we talking about? What's the Hayra we could learn from it? One Hayra, another Hayra, another Hayra, another Hayra. You could keep on learning Hayras. From everything you want to practice, what is the Hayra? In yeshiva, I've been doing this for 10 years. I finish every single shir chassidus with what is the Hayra. Right? Why? That I learned from Likutei Sichos. I didn't, what's it called? But it's true for every iota of Torah. Torah is a Hayra. If Torah is owned by you and cherished by you, but you can't apply it to your life, fulfilling Hashem's missions, do you own it? Nishmamish. So not always do you know the Hayra, but stop being frustrated by there's nothing for me. Instead, be curious, what is here for me? Right? Okay. Is there an inyan to speak to the child about Yichud Nifla? So that's a beautiful question. Okay, it's a beautiful question. The Rebbe did say it to children. The Rebbe did say to children that when you learn the Torah, the Eibishter comes along, because the Torah is one with the Eibishter. The Rebbe didn't explain it. The Rebbe just said as a yizis, right? So therefore, the Eibishter is with you. And the Rebbe therefore applied it, that therefore that means that the Eibishter is there to help you learn it, and the Eibishters help you more because you're learning Torah right now. So.
A kid that says that, like, this doesn't apply these days or whatever, is there any to answer that this is the Yichud Nifla, or you have to say?
So
I think the Rebbe's agenda is more to let's be curious. What could we learn?
Right.
What could we learn? Now, obviously, a child could drive you crazy and derail the entire lesson, because Yeder Zach is going to say, okay, what's the Hayra in this line of Tosfos? Right? Okay. Sometimes we don't understand things right away. First, you need to understand what the Tosfos says, and then we could talk about what is the Hayra in Tosfos. But nachals.
Three ways that we've used this in our class. Number one, on every single test, Gemara Chumash, everything I started to put on the bottom of the test, a question. It's extra credit. You don't have to answer it, but if you share something that you can use from this sugya, parak, whatever, that I can use in my life today. Just asking that question for the 300 tests they're going to see this year, I thought would be a nice way of alerting them to this idea. Number two, I think the Rebbe does this in the 12 pesukim. I think the Rebbe models this in the 12 pesukim in every single rally, where also in the Sefer Mitzvahs, but especially in the pesukim. And I've started to try to find in myself which pasuk can I use in this situation. So we had a bullying situation, recess. He's bothering me. I said, so tell me, how do you understand V'hine Hashem nitzav alav? What does that mean? These are little older kids. Hashem's watching. I said, in the video cameras we have in school, we can watch back this this little episode, and we could see who did what and what did first, and we could go through that. But we're only going to see the outside camera. We're not going to see if you were doing it out of love or if you were doing it out of hate. We're not going to be able to see if you were trying to be v'achtos or not. The Eibusher sees that, and why? Li'yispire. The Eibusher wants to be proud of you. He wants to be proud of you. So, I have a question. If I took a step away from this table, can you guys work this out in a way that Hashem would be proud of you? They both said yes. I walked away. I have no idea what happened next. It was never brought back to my attention. The point, so being able to start with the pesukim and just apply it again and again and again is just so unbelievable.
Okay.
And I'm excited for everybody for when we get to Yismach, because that's really cool. Okay, but we're not there yet. Okay.
All right, so here we have. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so just if we put this all together, imagine when you're walking to your class and you do your 45 seconds of lesson planning for the day. I'm just kidding. Okay. But before you walk into class, you take a deep breath and you say, how am I going to make sure that my students know that this piece of Gemara, this Pasuk Chumash, they own? One of the things that I started to be very conscious of is every child should be able to read and touch every Pasuk. They should be able to do it. At least they shouldn't walk away thinking, I can't learn this Pasuk. Maybe they don't have to know every Rashi. Maybe they don't have to know it. But if it's a Gemara class, they have to be able to at least read and translate, even with their notebook. That's fine. But they have to own it. What am I going to do to remind the child that this is a precious, cherished gift, a cherished inheritance, a Yerusha of theirs? Why is this special? Maybe even just saying that before class. Guys, I'm so excited. We're going to learn your Torah, our Torah. And are we looking for applications? Baruch Hashem, I learned Elam Metzias, so it was very, very helpful that I found a dollar bill in the classroom, and we had a mamish, a whole excitement of everybody thought it was theirs, and it was so great because I didn't even have to work hard. They just gifted it to me. But are we thinking about that? So if we walk away today with the Rebbe's chinuch language of own, cherish, apply, and then we go, as Rabbi Pevzer said, we go to the staff lounge and we start to talk about how we used it, and we each Yasrei Yazeru. It's amazing things. Amazing things are happening. Moving right along, Vishinantam.
So the way we group this lesson is that the Bnei Kaitzer Azman, we're trying to organize into 7 trainings. That means we're going to take 2 psukim at a time, right? You have the schedule and the cards before you. The one that actually flows one of the best 2 psukim at one time is Torah and Vishinamtam. And the Rebbe actually sometimes connected them, mamish and behemshech echad, like I said, right? Torah tzivalanu meish merasha, Vishinamtam levanecha v'dibarta bam. Okay, so we have the pasuk of Vishinamtam. The pasuk of Vishinamtam etzad echad is very relevant to children. It's actually the only pasuk that mentions children. Right? Vishinamtam levanecha, teach your children. Vishinamtam means that they should be fluent in it, that they should know it well. The whole concept of 12 psukim, really, that children should know Torah Bal Peh, right? So that they should actually know it is really, you could say, genumen, and how the Rebbe explained it initially, genumen from the pasuk of Vishinamtam levanecha. Then it should be v'dibarta bam. They know it, so therefore they could speak it. Where? It could always be Eizkechazak. You can't catch a child without a vert of Torah because they always have a vert of Torah, and that's the message of Vishinamtam. Now, the interesting though vert is that you're teaching the child Vishinamtam levanecha. What are they supposed to know from the words Vishinamtam levanecha? You should teach your child. It says Yasher Koyach. When I become a parent, when I'll be a tati, then I'll teach my kinderlach. Right? So let's see how the Rebbe teaches Bonecha. Bonecha la talmidim, a child doesn't only mean a biological child. When you teach somebody else Torah, they are your child. Hastes. Vishinamtam levanecha is an instruction to every child that every child should teach other children. You're going to say, my high. Well, what's going on? Right? So you could say, oh, well, we're short-staffed, right? It's not, there aren't enough adults in the world, qualified mechanchim, to teach other children, right? If we draft the kinderlach, they'll also be mechanchim, it will be great. And you could almost take that mashmos from the very first sikha launching Mifsach Chinuch, right? That the Rebbe said that it's not enough, the adults, we also need to draft the children. But then it gets a lot deeper. It gets so much deeper. What did we say? What does a child shrei ois when they hold a toy? It's mine. They feel a balabatishkeit over it. The next thing, when a child feels possessive over the Torah they learned, the next thing is to show it off. No child doesn't want to show off what he has, right? They want to show it off. They want to go over to somebody else who they think doesn't have it, and they say, yeah, you know what I got, right? That remote control car, right? That's what children want. So the Rebbe says, take that teva, give them Torah in such a way that it's in this atzim with the child owns it and cherishes it. What's the next step? The child will start finding Bonecha, he's going to start looking, where could I teach this? Where could I show it off to my chaver that I know it? Right? So it's the ownership of Torah that leads a child to feel capable, and not even capable, urged, right? To, yes, I am going to share it weiter. So this inyan is a very, very choshev zach, right? That it's very, very important. Tzivus Hashem is now going to start a big campaign for the 12 pesukim. I'm sure a lot of you have seen the announcements this week, right? And a big part of it is this vart of V'shinamtem lefanecha, that they should teach other children. This was a yesoid in Mivtza Chinuch that the Rebbe wanted the children to be mechanchim.
When a child asks a question or gives an answer, are we realizing that that is not a student in the class right now, that's a teacher in my class right now? So a kid asks a question, and I started doing this. I said, raise your hand if you understood Chaim's question. Chaim's teaching us something with this question. We're about to unpack our present, right? And who has an answer? Very good. You guys, you just taught us something. And I love that answer that you gave. Does anybody else have an answer? And there's a amazing power when the child. I think this might be my commentary, but when you start to tell a child, not only are you a owner of Torah, but you're responsible to teach it. So that deepens the connection. I think we all know that the pieces of Gemara that we teach, we know the best, and so the kids, they really go together. And it's incredible. Someone has a problem in class. Who has a solution? The kids have the answers. They really do. And when their amygdala is not activated. Okay. And a shout out to AI for this great child here. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so b'shivtecha b'veisecha u'v'lechtecha v'aderech. What do these words mean? Right? When you're home and when you're going on the way, this is that the fact that Torah is supposed to be everywhere. What's pshat everywhere? This is actually one of the big keywords of the Rebbe's inyan of Chinuch B'chlal. The Rebbe wants that children should be learning Torah everywhere. Right? Dahainu. The Rebbe explained why did he start Tzivus Hashem, one of the biyurim. The Rebbe said that chinuch can't only be in the school, it also needs to be outside of school. Right? The Rebbe said it used to be that the gas was a Yiddish gas, so you didn't need to bavod in it. So now you give a child missions and a checklist of what you should be doing at home, outside of school. One of the big things that parents often are frustrated with is homework. Why? The kid learns enough in school. Was kommt daheim, and now I need to start. I paid enough money that the teacher should be a teacher. Now you want me to be a teacher, right? What do you want now? Without any comment on the actual debate, the big vart is the assumption that there's one place where we learn Torah and a place where we don't learn Torah is entirely. Not against, but in great opposition, exactly, beautiful, right, to what Torah actually is for a child. If this is the Yesod, the Yosad Torahs, this is Kihem Chayenu Verech Yameinu, you can't have a hefsek in it. So it has to be everywhere. The Rebbe speaks about going on a trip and taking with a kuntras or a sefer to learn. Why? What's that? For children. Yeah, for children. Take something that you're going to learn on the trip. Take something you're going to learn on the trip. It's more convenient to learn in the classroom when we get back. But you're going to teach them something about the connection to Torah. That Torah's everywhere, in every kind of place. The Rebbe in every situation, we should be learning Torah. The Rebbe enabled that children should know Baal Peh, and the Rebbe encouraged Baal Peh beyond just the 12 pesukim. But the concept of Baal Peh is that then you should have Torah in your head. Wherever you are, you could go ahead and chazer Torah. So that is something very, very fundamental to what it is, Bechlal, the concept of chinuch, that we should be able to emphasize the inyan of Torah. We should be able to emphasize this thing that Torah is all the time. If we want to build ownership, and we want to cherish, and we want to show our connection to Torah, that everywhere is hadgosha yeseda, that it should be, yes, go ahead.
No, we had a birthday party right before we left, birthday for Reagan for one of the little kids right before we left to the Kinnos, and my son who came with me to the Kinnos said Vishirantam. I said, so I asked him, I said, do you have everything you need in your, did you pack everything you need? He says, yes. I said, did you think about the pasuk that you said when you were packing? He says, what do you mean? I said, you tell me what I mean. He's the teacher, right? So he said, I should learn something. I said, why? He says, okay, so I said, so we have, I said, we have a 3-hour layover and we have a plane ride. He says, well, the plane ride, we're going to do 12 pesukim. Okay? I said, fine. And he said, for the layover, so he took his chidon book and he took his Maimer Bar Mitzvah, whatever he took. But this idea, and then in class also, we're Baruch Hashem blessed with our school is called Lamplighters, and we have a big lighthouse, 5-minute walk away from us over a bridge. So on Chav Cheshvan, we had to go to the lighthouse. So we're walking across the bridge. So I asked the kids, I said, we're about to do something called Uvelech Chavaderech. We're about to walk on the way. What should we be doing? Torah. So they all came up with different ways. Most of them were the 12 pesukim. That was easy. But while we're walking, what are we taking with us? This is how we do it. We're going to recess now. Imagine we had something to do when walking to recess. I want everybody to go chazer to their chavrusa, what we just learned in class today. I don't know. When we start thinking this way, it goes.
Yeah, so actually I'm just listening to you now, and I'm seeing how many times you told the kids that this is what it says in the 12 pesukim.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm realizing I did the exact same thing 2 weeks ago. I was walking with my boys Shabbos Mincha, right? And I started telling them, okay, today we spoke about Parshas Vayeda, right? It was Parshas Lech Lecha. Next week is Parshas Vayeda, right? So and we're going to learn it by Mincha. So we right away started talking about Vayeda. They told what they know of Parshas Vayeda, whatever it is. And then I stopped and I complimented them. I said, look, I'm walking with 2 Tzivos Hashem soldiers, and what did they do while we were walking to shul? Good. You were talking Torah. I started the conversation, but okay, that's fine, right? You were talking Torah, and you were saying one name of a malach, and you said the other two, right? You were learning Torah. Without me saying another word, they started saying the 12 pesukim. Right? And it took us, the 15-minute walk to shul. We took here the 12 pesukim. Why? I didn't ask them to. All I did was, I said, what you just did, it says in the 12 pesukim, right?
That you know.
That you know, that's and you just did it, and boom, right? They're on their way. This is another application. The Rebbe's chinuch language, somehow, they push it, do it. It clicks. It clicks. You're talking the language of the neshama, right? Earlier we learned about the biology of the brain, right? There's the biology of the neshama, right? And when you talk the language of the neshama, you're going to see something. It really clicks in kids' heads. What's our next thing?
Yeah, so we have so far every child is the mechanech everywhere, and now the Rebbe says is every time. So
every time. This is a tough one. It's a very tough one, right? The Rebbe speaks about children being teidasiyum nasei, just like Rashbi, right? And every time. So the way the Rebbe said it is that they fall asleep with a thought of Teda, and they wake up with an Anweisung von Teda, with a Ira of Teda, with an instruction of Teda. Because you're not actually learning all the time. Sometimes you're learning Teda, and sometimes you are teaching Teda, and sometimes you are living Teda. Right? Sometimes you are living Torah. And in every inyan, in Inyonei Reshus, the pasuk of Vishinamtam has a place. Right? Now we have to be living Torah. If we're not learning Torah, then we're doing something al pi Torah. The Rebbe encouraged the creation of Jewish educational games. Mitzad was? Anything wrong with Parav games? Potentially not. But if you could make it a Yiddish game, a chinuch dike game, something they're going to learn, right? Then there's value to it. There's no such thing that we should make it a standard to do something parif. In every Inyan of a child's life, it should be something Yiddish. Something Yiddish. You could ask a child, what is the Hayrah of Torah you're doing now in an Inyan and Chayil, and you're going to see the child is going to come up with lots of creative ideas, because by the child it makes sense that it should be a Shaychas to Torah. No, a Dover Beilet is Lag Beimer Tavshem Amdalit. The Rebbe spoke about Teirosim Nasi like Rashbi, and that every child, boy and girl, right, can live this way. And the Rebbe said, what's the example in Inyani Rishus? That when they eat, they do what? They make a bracha, right? That's easy, right? They eat to use the kayach to serve the Eibishter later in Torah and mitzvahs. And then the Rebbe said something amazing. The Rebbe said, and the child, right? The child chooses to not eat too much, to not be a zeilul v'seive. Why? Because he's eating al pi hayra satera. That he sees something sweet that looks good, but it's not going to be good for him, and he won't eat it because, as I state in Torah, you could teach children in the lunchroom, via zeim is a lesson, al pi what? You have to be gesund, right? Right? This is what the medical experts say. This is the way to eat. This is how much. This is a normal portion. This is not a normal portion. You could do that. And the Rebbe says in the Sikha, what is that? It's an opportunity to live Torah. Right? Teirasei Imnosei. What does Teirasei Imnosei look like? Now we're doing something Toradic. The Rebbe, when the Rebbe says Teirasei Imnosei, the Rebbe does not make any claim that children are supposed to be masmidim learning Yom and V'layla. The Rebbe acknowledges many times that children need to play. They shouldn't be in between lessons in an appropriate time, obviously, right? In between lessons, children do need to play. But what should we try to create? Well, what should we try to create? Torah dika play. Torah dika play. Somebody asked me, I was talking about this, and somebody said, okay, well, fact of the matter is, you talk about the chavivas of Torah, and it should be more precious than a toy, and a toy you can only use sometimes, but Torah's all the time, and you teach all that. Poyel mamish, if I sit down your son with a brand new set of Legos and a Mishnayos, which one is he going to choose?
Legos.
The pashtus, the Legos, right? Yeah, right? The Legos, okay. Point taken, right? Kids don't care about Torah that much, right? Is that true? No. I told him, hold it a second. So let's take out this new set of Legos and do what? What should we build with those Legos? Let's build something Yiddish. Let's build something Yiddish. Let's build the part. Let's ask him what Torah that he learned that we could build. But let's build something Yiddish. And then what did you do? Is it Torah or is it play? It's Torah that could play. And this is the conclusion, right? Of obviously this was just the Kitzer Nimrats. There's so much more that we did not cover. Have no fear, right? But what's that? We should still keep learning. For sure there is. For sure there is. Right? I'm not going to... sorry. Is there a point in giving extra chashivas and yakrus, cherishedness, to the learning the actual Mishnayos versus playing the Lego and building that sukkah? So of course there is. I will never take my kid and start dancing, right? Let's learn. You played with Lego and you made a sukkah. Right? No. Right? It's very nice, whatever it is. But what will I do with a 3-year-old kid who just learned Kamatz Alepha, right? It's a sibit to go and sing a Simchas Torah de Kenigin, just learn Torah, right? You'll never do that. You won't make a siyam on it, you know what I mean? Of course you're going to put so much more emphasis, the Torahkeit of the amazing thing that they just learned Torah. But living Torah is part of it. In other words, I just want to be mavir for a second. V'zeh kol adam also teaches you to use every moment, right, to make a dira b'tachtenim. Here is a davar noisef. Besides for making a dira b'tachtenim that it should be all the time, that the place should be inviting for the Eibishter, it should be Torah all the time. That we should go to sleep with a thought of Torah and wake up with a hayro of Torah. This is a completely different type of chinuch. It's our objective. Is our objective in chinuch? Is our objective in chinuch to walk into the classroom and to deal with the bully and the potential bully, right? Every kid is choshed as a potential bully. One day he could become, right? Or are we coming here to teach, right? To own, to cherish, to apply, that every child is a mechanech, everywhere, every time, just basic. You're teaching Torah all day long. These are heroes that could be in your cuff, that could be applied everywhere, every time.
To every child.
To every child. What's that?
Okay, I just want to, before we take some questions, I just want to mention a few things. First of all, the schedule for the next 6 trainings is in front of you. There is a barcode that leads to 12pesukim.org, which is a website that already has a hamoin of materials on the 12 pesukim, videos from all the great Torah scholars of the Chabad community, and many more being added as we speak. There's tons and tons of shiurim on the 12 pesukim. You can either search by pasuk or you can search by kids for adults. And there is the training. If you go to the training page, you will see a link to the WhatsApp group of the 12 pesukim discussion. It started already by the Chinuch convention in the summer, and it's already a beautiful, beautiful resource for people sharing ideas and resources for teaching the 12 pesukim and using them in school. So please join that WhatsApp group. And we're big yashikech again to the Merkez Chinuch office and Rabbi Zalmi Lowenthal and his entire staff, to Sichas in English and Rabbi Abtzin and Rabbi Pevsner and their staff, and Tzivus Hashem and their team, and Jem and everybody else who's getting involved. It's really a huge moment for Chabad and the world, and Mashiach's here. All right. So how should we do this?
I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming out on this beautiful evening. There's people here from Australia, South America, and also people here from Crown Heights. So we're very, very honored. We have Lubavitch Yeshiva, Oli Torah, Menachem, Darki Menachem, Ocean Parkway.
After a full day.
After a full day, exactly. So big yasher koyach. You taught in the classroom a whole day. Your Rebbitzon's waiting at home, and you told her, I'm going to eat sushi at the Kinut. No. And a big yasher koyach to Zalmi and Rabbi Pevsner, Rabbi Kudan. Thank you.
All right, we're going to ask that anybody who's not asking questions or listening should please move the conversation outside. Thank you so much. As this section will also be recorded. There's been a motion to daven Mariv here, and we have approved the motion. So after the question and answers, there will be a Mariv minyan. Go ahead.
Why do we have to wait a month for the next one?
The question was, why do we have to wait a month for the next one? Rabbi Pevsner has been learning this for 2.5 years. I started 6 months ago. We wanted to give you a few days to implement this. You'll be so excited about how it changed your classroom just with these 6 ideas of own, cherish, apply, every child, everywhere, every time, that you're going to be really settled. Your amygdala is going to be relaxed, and you're going to be ready to learn the next pesukim.
I also agree with you. I would want to do 1 week and just teach the whole week every day. Something like something, right?
Okay.
The Gemara.
Okay. The question was, how do we know that Vishinantam applies to the entire Torah, not just Shema?
Right? What is it? Yeah, exactly. It's man.
Beis is
On the
Bereshis, Mem is Meimosai.
That's a very, very good question.
Let me just repeat the question. Guys, again, if you're not part of the question and answers, just for the recording's sake, if you could please move the conversation elsewhere. I'm sure it's a Torah conversation. So it could be everywhere. The question was, a lot of the ideals that were spoken today are very lofty and idealistic ideals. If we ourselves not necessarily are able to feel that we're living in a way of apply, cherish, every time, everywhere, how do we expect the kids to assimilate that?
Okay, so number one, the basic answer is that we could all do better. While we're teaching, there's a chinuch atzmai element too. That's why it takes some time. In Achanami, the morning that I heard the Sikha of Bechor being in Yerushalayim, my morning was a little bit different because I was walking around in Yerushalayim. So my morning worked a little bit differently. We're going to change because oftentimes when we learn Chassidus, we don't necessarily see it as Eifil Lamaisa, the way that Rebbe puts it in the Pashat Verta to the children, and it's a very honest, what's it called? The thing is, we have a lot of gripes, shall we say, of when we notice we weren't b'shleimus in the zinyan. A child, for one reason or another, the child is built on neshama, not in seichel. The child doesn't realize that the majority of their time they're not learning Torah. Children don't think that way, right? I ask my kid, "Did you learn a lot of Torah today?" The answer is yes. Why? Right? Because you were in school for 3 hours when you're 3, right? He thinks he learned. Why? Because his playing was necessary. He didn't even, right? It was l'shem shamayim. He doesn't realize it's a hefsek. For him, what do you mean? I wasn't supposed to play. He doesn't even have such a havamina that he isn't supposed to. So a child does very much buy into this. Now, I will say, what part of, if we could talk about it, a big part of Torah, meirosha, starting from a very early age, right? We say that the Tinuk Ben Yoimai was Meirish. You do want to emphasize it from very young, because when you emphasize it from very young, you start very young, it really gets angekritz. Right? You could ask the question, a child won't remember anything of the most, the first 2 years of a child's life, they get the most love. Right? The mother just takes care of them no matter what, no matter how. They get the most love from everybody, from strangers. The Eibishter made it that nobody remembers a thing. You would think it would make life so much better if everybody remembers it, right? The answer is that this is not the conscious, it's the subconscious. This becomes the yasoid, the yasadata. When you see a building, you don't see the yasoid, it's underneath the ground. Al derech zeh, the child doesn't see. When you're starting with a child, you're building really a yasoid. Not always is the child going to be living it 100%, but what you're building is something so foundational because this is how the child sees himself. When I asked my 6-year-old if Chassidus is for him, he didn't think, but I didn't learn a Maimer Chassidus this morning, right? He didn't have a havamina, right? So what? But it's mine, right? It's like they
I just want to add, I think what the Rebbe was trying to do at Shras HaChinuch is that 50 years later, the adults should be living it. That's the idea. In other words, for whatever reason, you and I are not there, if you will. But imagine that the 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds do come away with this. Imagine what those adults are going to look like. And I think that's our mission and our call to action right now is make sure they know this.
Oh, absolutely.
The question was if we could elaborate more on learning the raw sichos of the Rebbe, the 1,200 pages that the Rebbe spoke to children.
Yes, so obviously, a very good place to get this all information is where I got it from, right? And that is from the Rebbe. So learning the Rebbe sichos, right, is a very, very good idea. I encourage it from anybody, any parent, definitely every mechanech, to be involved on some level in learning how the Rebbe spoke to children. You'll see things with your own eyes. You'll see things. There's a beautiful resource, barrel.me/rallies, where I recommend everybody, right? It's, right? Barrel.me/rallies, right? It's a website that has all the Rebbe's sichos to children organized with a beautiful seder to learn it b'meshach Hashana. You just click and it goes to the Ashreinu app to listen. press the video, it will go to the Gem app. You open it up, it will take you to the Sikha in copies in Yiddish, in Lashon HaKodesh. It works. It is beautiful, and it's made from our very, very own Rabbi Beryl Morozov sitting right here. A big Yasher Koyach for putting that together, right? For the cause.
BEREL.
I already
.me/rally.
I already nudged.
Rallies, plural.
I already nudged Lahak to put out the 2-volume set. They do not yet see a public need, right? They do not see a public need. Me nudging them won't do anything.
What's their email address? What's their email address?
Huh? Yeah.
Plural. Lashon Rabbim.
Message me.
Okay. Can I just answer
What's
that?
the topic?
One second. One
It's
second.
Tommy, answer that.
This is how I started doing it. The question was, how do I find the hira from everything? Pa'al Mamish, we learn a lot of topics in Torah, especially Mishnayos, there's things flying. How do we learn hira from everything? So first of all, I don't know if... Fine, so Rabbi Pam's doing it exactly. But for us normal people, how do we do this? So there's two things that I realized. Number one is that it doesn't have to be everything in class, because we also have a curriculum that we want, and there's a reason we have a curriculum. There's a seder of limud. So we can't go off into every single thing and discuss every single lesson. That's number one. But there should be a culture of finding applications. Number one. Number two, who is supposed to find the lesson? The Rebbe says that the whole mitzvah of Shnas HaChinuch is that the Talmidim, the Kinderlach, even the Pitzla Kinderlach, the Rebbe tells the story of Miriam and Avia, the little girl who saved the whole Jewish people. They're the ones who have the answers. Why do I have to always do all the hard work in my class? It's very tiring. Watch. Try me. Try. I'm telling you, this is what I've seen. If I just let them do it, go home, do chazara, and I would like someone for an extra raffle ticket to tell me a hira that they learned from this thing in their real life.
Yes,
Let's go back to what he mentioned before about the learning decision.
Sure.
It was mentioned that the Kibbutz of Mechanical about some sort of structured limud. Is that happening or is that not happening?
So it was attempted for 2 weeks on a very select chat. It wasn't very popular, so I didn't keep on doing it. It's a davar nachim.
Now there's more people.
Yeah.
Make this.
I'm very happy to. Yeah.
I will.
Right. He
I
made
think
a schedule. He made a weekly schedule for what to. Yeah.
It's not a following the schedule, but that's myself. You know, like the structure.
See-
We don't do it. The point is because it's machshava and how to apply it.
It's a very good idea, and also to get a chavrusa, because that's what I find in my having another mechanech in my school that we're always bumping into each other.
Rabbi Yosefovich. So. So the Rebbe. Okay. So.
The question was that we were explaining Kehila as a congregational thing, but then, what Rabbi Pevzer was trying to explain is that although the traditional understanding of Torah Tziva focused on the word Kehilas, the Rebbe took it away from that and focused on Meirasha and Torah Lashon Hira Rabbi Chaim.
Could I answer a little
Yeah.
more?
Yes.
Can I answer one
Yeah,
little
go.
bit more?
Go.
We have a chashav enough. We have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
answer this linyan, right? So I'll tell you, Azoy. Kehilas, the Rebbe does explain in other contexts, right? When you have hakel, who comes to hakel? Anashim, Noshim, V'taf, right? Everybody, right? So when you say Kehilas, you emphasize, right? It's not, right, as a nation, you emphasize every yochid as being part of that cloud, right? So who owns the Torah? Every yid equally. Bepashtus, the Gdele Yisrael own the Torah. The Talmidei Chachamim, the Rabbanim, the Rebbes, the Moras own the Torah. The adults own the Torah, and the child also learns the Torah. When you tell us, no, every Yid owns the Torah equally. I don't have the Torah more than you have the Torah. That emphasizes to the child, ad kama they own the Torah. It's right. It's yeah. That's good. Yeah. right? So do they really become a kol? So it's very interesting. So it's a gathering of yichidim that don't just translate into tzibur and erase the yachid. Tzibur, there's no more yachid. It's just tzibur, right? But kol is different. It's a rogachover. It's right. Kol kala das Yisrael by carbon Pesach. That's why you need a mispur. Right. It's a carbon yachid still. Anyways. All right.
Shkayach for the rabbinical lumdership.
Are we ready to dive? What's? I'm sorry? I cannot answer the order of the pesukim. There are some very, very smart people who would know everything about why the Rebbe put this in the first 6 and why the Rebbe did that in the second 6. I don't know, because I did... Okay, the Rebbe gave excuses for so to say, for the pesukim. The Rebbe explained initially, as the pesukim very, very casually, that he's choosing them because... Torah, Siva, and Shema are things that you're allowed to know about Peh because you teach it to the child, so the child already knows it. Bechol Dervatar, because we're just coming from Pesach, we're now in Sfiras Omer, so Kol Yisrael. The Rebbe made it as if it's just very haphazard, right? Obviously, then the Rebbe was Megala a lot more, and it becomes very obvious that we shouldn't be switching them out for another selection, right? But the Rebbe did offer, it was L'chura and Meine to the Minchas Yitzchak. He asked the question to the Shluchim in Eretz Yisrael when they made a rally for the hostages in Entebbe, and they said that the Rebbe chose these pesukim, so he wanted to know if the pesukim were bedavke. So they said that b'pashtus there is something specifically about these pesukim. So then Yud Gimel Tammuz afterwards, the Rebbe explained the pesukim. The Rebbe started off by saying anybody could go ahead and choose others, but then the Rebbe said how each one taka is a shayichas to lahash b'seiv misnakim, and the Rebbe explained, huh? It's Yud Gimel Tammuz Tavshin Lamed Vav.
Right after Entebbe.
This is something that comes up when you tell the boys to learn Mishnah, so then they'll say, I know the 12 psukim.
And what does the 12 psukim tell you? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean, Meirasha? What does it mean, Meirasha? What does that mean?
Right.
You think it was only the 12 psukim you got?
So when that kids saying pesukim between games,
Yeah.
whatever. If your kid is singing Tanya Balpeh between games, as he's riding or when he's in the bath or whatever, is this the same thing?
So
Is this doing? Put it this way: from the way, in other words, you just said, from the way the Rebbe first introduced it, yes, the point is the same thing. But there's more to the 12 psukim than just.
there is specific power to the 12 psukim. That's true, right? To finish what I was saying to Rabbi Kesman, right? You can't to go in. I don't believe it's our job to go and make a cheshbon why this is the order. I don't see it very necessary. You could understand many things and whatever. The Rebbe never explained the order and whatever. The basic structure: Teda Shebeksav, Teda Shebal Peh, and then Tanya. This is, but I don't know that we should. Of course, right? But my answer won't be the Rebbe's answer. It will be my answer. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I just mentioned it. Yeah, right. The Rebbe made as if they're arbitrary, as if they right. Yes. So yes. So what is the? I don't know. It's, yeah. Torah and Veshinamtom. So the reason, okay, so I hesitated tremendously. There was a conversation back and forth about this pairing for months, whether or not we should do 12 trainings or we should group them together, right? The practical issue is I was concerned we wouldn't get a lot of, many were concerned there wouldn't be a lot of participation if we announced we're doing 12 trainings. If we say we're doing one event and then another 6, it's more biyad and therefore people will do it. However, the Rebbe does explain Torah and Veshinamta mamish behemshech echad many times. So there's more of a Shema and Vihine work very much together. We'll be able to see that the pairing basically works, and the 2 times the pairing did not work, Bechol and Vahafta, we're making 2 separate lessons because it just doesn't.
In other words, for us to develop the trainings, we tried to find similar themes that we could easily give over together in 1 hour and 10 minutes. But it doesn't mean that the Rebbe necessarily connected everyone. These 2 the Rebbe connected more. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Shkoyach, everybody. Thank you, Rabbi Pevsner.
Thank you, Rabbi Kodan.
Amen.